Let's keep on using the seats at the front if we can, Victor. All right, I call this meeting to order. I wonder if I could be turned down a little bit if there's somebody around the corner. I guess if there isn't, they won't. But I'd like to appoint Ross Nicholas as the secretary for this meeting. I'll open with a prayer. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, source of all wisdom and understanding, be present with us as we strive for the renewal and mission of your church. Teach us in all things to seek first your honor and glory. Guide us to perceive what is right, and grant us both the courage to pursue it and the grace to accomplish it, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. I'd like to call on our junior warden, Kate Stratman, to offer the report from the nominations committee. Kate.
Good morning. The nominating committee consisted of the 2025 vestry class and 3 at-large members of the parish who participated in the selection process. I want to thank them for their time and for their effort in pulling together this slate that you have before you. We also want to thank those who agreed to be nominated for vestry service. That makes this process a whole lot easier when we come together. The slate for the 2028 vestry class is in the handout that you have before you. And if I call your name, if you would stand, please, that would be great. Meg Fogel, Danny Johnson, Louise Geddes, Hank Harris, Holly Stevens, Rick Woodward. I thought I saw Rick earlier. Well, he may have stepped out. I would like to call for a vote by acclamation. Would all in favor raise your hand or say aye? Aye. Thank you. Congratulations to our new vestry members.
Well, thank you to all of you for being here this morning, and certainly for all those people who put themselves forward for leadership in this place. I'd like to offer now a report on the state of the parish. There are so many who offer leadership here, people who teach, who call on the phone or at the door with flowers, who visit, who prepare our church for worship, who sing, to work to meet others' needs through our core ministries, to serve on numerous committees and our vestry on boards. So many people who offer the best of themselves so this church can be the vibrant place that it is. There are some folks among us who have carried out more remarkable acts of service. Particularly, I would lift up this year the future of our block steering committee. And I especially want to thank Michael Gragnani, who is chair of that committee, and we'll have more to say, of course, about the work of that committee and completing the process of that steering committee, which is multi-years long. We'll do that next week and then 2 weeks from then. But I want to recognize at this annual parish meeting the incredible work they have done on behalf of All Saints. I also want to thank the Parish Engagement Committee. Many of you here may have been part of that committee, and the leadership of Kate Stratman, a wonderful group of people who had that outside chance that if they asked an All Saints parishioner, what do you think, that they'd get an opinion back. And they did, and lots of opinions, hundreds of them, hundreds of views and insights into the life of this church as we see it in the future. Give thanks for all of the work that's been so essential, not only as we discern the future of our block, but it really has been about discerning the future of our church. And that is really rich material for us to use for the years to come. And I'd like to thank the Future Church Task Force, and especially Missy McMorris, who chaired that group, who worked very intensively and did a wonderful and broad array of research to help us think about the future, not just the next 3 or 4 years, but the next 3 or 4 decades. And to our vestry, I continue to be deep with great thanksgiving in my heart for the vestry. It's a wonderful body in this church, that has a can-do spirit. It's very collegial. I think they even like each other, which is something of a miracle. And I want to give thanks for the 6 outgoing members of the vestry. For Michael Kennedy, please ask Michael Kennedy, you won't raise his blood pressure, by asking about his work with Congress. It's a good story, but something that is worth listening to. Offered us deep experience and skill, particularly with our stewardship and development work. Deb Cox, who brought great experience, particularly as a trustee of the board of Canterbury Court, a wonderful ministry. Many of you will be aware, but some may not be, that All Saints and St. Luke's were co-founders of Canterbury Court. And go and visit Canterbury Court one day, say you're from All Saints. Guarantee if you just stand still in Canterbury Court, an All Saints parishioner will pass you by. There's so many there, but it is, I think, a real gem in the senior living communities of Atlanta. Something we should be very proud of. Sheffield Hale, who brought a unique contribution, a combination here of decades of experience at All Saints, and essentially for our life as a vestry and as a non-profit, his leadership in Atlanta in the non-profit sector, so crucial for us to understand. Marty Zakis, whose careful and attentive and incisive analysis of our financial management and decision-making is so important for us as a vestry. I know there are folks, I'm a theologian who messes with numbers, thankfully not too much, and vestry members are drawn for all sorts of reasons into that work, and so it's been so essential to have people like Marty and you, Marty, with that level of acumen. Beth Rolingos, who's helped us to focus on our children and youth ministries, particularly in a very important year of transition in our children and youth music program. And Jack Norton. I love Jack's note. I don't know how Rory McIlroy got into your annual meeting report, but have a look at that. A stalwart senior warden, always available to me. There are 2 primary qualifications for a senior warden. One that I think the ecclesiastical term is have affection for the rector. At least you can put up with him or her. But also, could you be on the other end of a phone? And has been when I've needed it. From high up on a ladder, perhaps sometimes too high with a habitat build, to guiding the vestry through this essential discernment process for the future of our block. I wonder if we could give a warm round of applause for those, your lay leaders. I do want to highlight, in case you're thinking, gosh, All Saints really does sort of skimp these people. At the vestry meeting tomorrow, we have special Thanksgiving gifts and thank you gifts to each of these outgoing vestry members, so we do it proper, as they say. This last year was a big year of transitions for 2 long-term staff members, Carol Kimmel and Ellen Hayes. And in so many ways, we've got a chance to look back on parts of our life that we have valued, and in fact the whole of All Saints that we have valued, and we give thanks for their ministry and welcomed in some wonderfully talented new team members, new to the staff. Scott Lamline as Director of Music, Emily Halbert as Director of Children and Youth Music, and Kathy Powell, our Communications Director. They join an incredibly talented and dedicated staff team here at All Saints. I can't underscore how deeply we are blessed in that regard. I can see Andy Barnett at the back, and we can remember with fear and dread looking into a camera at the beginning of COVID, and I think it was multiple Hail Marys to just sort of see how this lands in a few weeks, pivoting according to circumstances. And it's just an incredible blessing. We are strong in so many ways because of our staff at All Saints, and it's a great privilege to serve alongside them as the rector. My final thanks in this beginning of thanks is just to say thank you to each member of the parish. From decades-long members to newcomers, and there keep on being more and more newcomers who've only just walked onto this beautiful block. Thank you for saying yes to All Saints. It's not lost on me that all sorts of people do all sorts of other things on a Sunday morning or a Wednesday night or whenever you happen to be here, but you've chosen to throw your lot, or to keep on throwing your lot in with All Saints, to be amongst the number of those who count it a key part of your life, to be part of Christian community. I wonder if you had an opportunity to listen. I was driving down the motorway yesterday to Heathrow Airport and had an opportunity to listen to Pope Francis's a beautiful funeral service. And I commend the homily to you and the prayers that we heard, the vocation of the church to be leaven for the world. Thank you for all that is growing here. Here's some things that are growing because of your life and ministry here. You may remember that cold January morning, I think it was January, when we, multi-generations of All Saints, built a house so that it could be a home for a member of our city community. I saw people growing in relationship. I'm at the 9 o'clock. I'm at the 10:15. We don't have a 10:15. Anyway, that's when we arrive. It all happens. A wonderful illustration, people old, people new to the church, of the kind of church we want to be, oriented to the world, for the sake of the world. I wonder if you had a chance, let's just see out of interest, how many people got to attend a jazz concert this last year? Wonderful to be there, and I was trying to hide in the back corner, didn't quite manage it, but to see the church fill. And the only thing that surpassed the beauty of the music was the beauty of the sea of diverse faces from across the city. You don't have to go to a concert to hear jazz at All Saints. Come 5 o'clock on a Sunday night. If you've not experienced the welcome table service, please give it a try. The sounds of jazz fill that chapel every Sunday, and a new trio has helped us to grow in stature and relationship that evening congregation. You may remember a year ago, Holy Week, as the world was still reeling and we were trying to come to terms with how do we tell our story in the midst of such pain in the Middle East. We sat in this room and heard from an Episcopal, sounds like the beginning of a joke, but it's actually a really beautiful expression. An Episcopalian, a rabbi, and a Palestinian Presbyterian helped us to see hope in the midst of anguish. Again, turning our faces towards the world. Our youth didn't just turn their faces, they set off and got on a plane, and I went with them, along with Jenny and Kathy, a pilgrimage to Croatia, to see firsthand what it can look like to rebuild life together following the terrible war there. In July and June and through that period of time, we prepared for and gave away hundreds of school uniforms, helping a record number of children through Threads to get a new start in the school year. Our refugee ministries thrived while Louisa Merchant was waved away for a sabbatical. And it's wonderful to see parishioners step forward and take on leadership here that has been so essential this year, as we know, as that has been a key part of our work. But we gave thanks for Louisa Merchant to have a well-deserved sabbatical. And then we're always challenged with Wednesday nights and folks battling with traffic, but we found our sweet spot with the wonderful School of the Spirit classes, a hybrid of in-person for folks who can be here and online. And those have been such rich offerings, and they will continue. I don't know, nobody's complained yet, but there's always time, about children gathering around the altar. Unashamed that we do that children might learn where they belong, that they may see that they belong at the heart of the life of the church. And as Charles Dickens said, even lawyers were children once. So just take that to heart. So we're growing outward, as our strategic plan calls for, that we might be a church that draws a wider circle. And no more has that desire been expressed than in our future of our block discernment work. Thank you to each of you who filled out a survey or gathered in somebody's home or here for a town hall and were haunted by those QR codes. Every turn you took on the campus, another QR code. Please tell us what you think. Chasing you out of the parking lot. Eventually we heard from all the people we wanted to. It was a wonderful gift to hear from you. And those insights have been added to years of work. And while we weren't bothering you, the steering committee in particular was working through the summer, sometimes getting here at 7:30 in the morning or 8 in the morning for an early start on a Wednesday, continuing to learn and discern. And we're going to hear all about the fruits of that discernment next week. For now, what this dedication to the future has gifted us is clear. That our sense of call is that we must be a church, in the words of one of our Midtown neighbors when we asked them about their vision for church life and for life and community in Midtown, that we must be a church that builds a bigger door, that builds a bigger front door. You think about what we've been doing, that spectacular and breathtaking generosity that this parish witnessed and that you were so importantly part of, to raise funds for refugee ministries. That drew support well beyond our church membership. Last Saturday night, a week ago, we were in the park And it was wonderful to hear people come and speak afterwards and say, we were looking for a service, and my son had to get back to college first thing on Sunday morning, and then here you are, offering this vision of Christianity that is open and inclusive and welcoming. And that is a culture we work so hard to build here, and it continues to see new people come to this church over and over again. We know what happens when we choose to build a bigger door and draw the life of the world in here. We come to see and know Christ more fully through the lives of others. If there's any image we might borrow with all respect and honor from the ministry and legacy of Pope Francis, it is the image of a ministry that extends generosity to others and learns from others about the state of the world. So let's just look forward a little bit. We now have 2 Midtown Alliance Hearts for the Arts artists in residence. They will bring healing and color through the arts to our lives and the lives of others and draw people into the orbit of this block. We have a new ministry intern from Morehouse College that might be Nevion, who's here, Nevion Stevens. He's right there at the back. It's great to see you. Welcome to All Saints. He's going to join our team among our youth and also in other parts of the parish's life. We're going to aim to begin a new service for young children and their families as we continue to diversify the ways by which we worship God in our life as a church. We have a new youth vestry will help us see how this parish can be even more the village that will raise the children and youth of this church. We are piloting this summer a summer camp, an performing arts summer camp for kids we get to know through the ministry of Threads, building bridges between the great legacy of music making at All Saints and our mission to recognize the dignity of every child. Other musical bridges will be built with the launch of a summer choir for all singers. Brush up on your scales, you'll be welcome. And a new community choir. And an environmental stewardship study will name for all us ways by which this institution and this community can be better stewards of this, our one fragile island home. All of it speaks to me of a church that is choosing to live into the words of Jeremiah, to seek the welfare of the city, for in its welfare you will find your own. The vision this parish's leadership has for the future of the church on this block is a vision that sees All Saints' welfare and vitality within the welfare and vitality of Atlanta. We see, and I see, a vibrant and vital future for this church. And as we continue to give ourselves away for the sake of the gospel, as we remain steadfast in our commitment to widen the circle, to build bigger doors, such that people around us might also know something of that living hope, we're able to live into exciting times ahead. So I ask for your prayers for this corner of the kingdom of God as we prepare to share next Sunday a vision for our future. I ask for you to pray not for yourself, but for those who will one day call this church home, that we may have a future that has them on our hearts. So thank you for your incredible generosity of every kind that makes all that we do possible. And thank you for the privilege of serving God as your rector in this place. Thank you. Jack's going to enjoy this particularly by a miracle of the Holy Spirit. I ended 5 minutes early, but we're going to, I know, when you've recovered yourself, Jack, I want to invite you to come forward and offer the senior warden's report.
The one time in your life. How many times have we talked about being more concise? Listen, I am certainly filled with gratitude about my reflection here at All Saints, and certainly the thing I learned most after joining vestry and being senior warden is that we're not shy about sharing our thoughts, whether they're about sermon length or coffee strength. We are just as passionate about everything we share. But thank you for everyone who's reached out to me and shared thoughts. I appreciate that. I want to quickly, well, maybe not quickly because it's just a page, comment on Simon and the work that he's done. I do have British friends who love to receive compliments, especially publicly, so this will be very long. But the dedication you've shown us, especially as leading this church as our spiritual leader, during a time when I've seen a congregation evolve into wanting to do more faith in action, we could not have a better leader at this time. And I am so humbled by the work you do, and the hats you have to wear while maintaining that spiritual guidance is incredible. With 3 teenagers at home, I don't understand that. I have 2, and it's not easy. But before serving in this role, I had the great pleasure of, and still do, spending a lot of time in Pritchett Center and seeing what Kathy Roberts can do with 2 acorn shells and some storm runoff. And it will entertain children for hours. And so I knew the magic that happens there and is happening there right now. But I didn't know, and in taking this role and meeting some others like Sheldon Taylor's lifetime appointment of treasurer and working with Nancy Dodson, who similarly in that long tenure continues to run finance and operations. I will tell you, I had 2 college classes with Melinda Snow, who may not be, you are here, yes. You won't remember, that's good for both of us. But I will tell you, if that tells you anything about my degree, you can know that witnessing the finance committee plus Sheldon and Nancy know we are in very good financial shape if you want to believe someone with an English lit degree. So thank you for that. I would also say that over the course of this time, I was spending more time worrying about the buildings and the infrastructure and the cost to do repairs and everything about the buildings, such that we had dinner with Martha and Carol Stern, and Martha asked, well, how is it going? And I said, well, I go to sleep at night now, and I'm worried about, did people turn off the lights? Do we have enough to heat and cool the church? And at the time, she kind of sloughed it off as something that Carol also used to worry about. But it made me realize that what she was really telling me was that it's the people and not the buildings that have made this a place that has welcomed my family and welcomed all of us. And so I try to, as I leave, take that to heart and know that we're really here because of the people, and yet we'll have decisions to make about these buildings, but it's this parish that brings us all together. Lastly, I will just say that I am so thrilled, as many have mentioned, Sidney Cleland, this is your last day, you're out of here. I'm not leaving the church, but I will not miss my children going to get dressed in acolyte robes and yelling across the courtyard, "Ooh, there's the senior warden." So fortunately, we'll hand that off to someone certainly more capable than me, who will maybe be humbled by my children as well. So God bless each of you, and God bless our parish at All Saints. Thank you.
I'd like to invite Julie Lockhart to come forward, her first stewardship report for an annual meeting. I do hope that you've had an opportunity to meet Julie, and if you've not, please do bother her in the months ahead. She's a wonderful new member of our staff, and we're deeply thankful for your ministry here. Julie.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm happy to say I know a lot of the faces already. I've been here since November, and I wanted to take a few minutes today to talk about the 2025 canvas, which unfortunately I wasn't here for most of. But through a great leadership team of Rainey Woodward, Patrick Becker, and Edgar Calloway, that team led us through a very lively and spirited canvas entitled, "Yes, I Want to Be in That Number When the Saints Go Marching In." Probably most of you will remember the September video where young adults, ushers, and children did their very best to sing this song, and it helped everyone remember why that's such an important tune for this parish. So over the course of 4 months, this very dynamic team attended all of the parish gatherings, greeting over 500 people, tirelessly made phone calls to anyone who had yet to make their pledge in October, and the pledges did come marching in. I'm happy to say that at the close of the 2025 canvass, we had 634 pledges totaling approximately $3.4 million, so a tremendous success. Thank you to Rainey, Patrick, and Edgar for leading this campaign, and also to all of the generous volunteers, helpers, and teammates who made it happen. Also, I want to thank all of you who made your pledge and were consistently generous and helping us continue our belief that together what we're doing as a community truly matters. And now I'd like to announce that for this fall, we have a new group, and I'm very excited to say that Jesse Furr, EJ Jimenez, and Dean Kim O'Rourke will be leading the canvas for 2026. So thank you, everyone.
So definitely one of the best things about this annual meeting is that we have maximal time for the treasurer. I want you to prepare yourself. Look carefully through the annual report, the financial pages, so you can get into the detail if you can, so we can give Sheldon a difficult time. But we do give thanks. Sheldon Taylor, I'm sure all of you know Sheldon Taylor, but has been a rock for me, the steady, consistent figure who we have an ongoing, and I'm ruining it now because I've been trying to think in bullets. Sheldon, why don't you come forward and offer the treasurer's report?
All right, thank you, Simon. But, Simon always puts me last on the agenda, funny enough. Now, before we begin, I need everyone's help here to celebrate our Director of Operations and Finance, Nancy Dodson. Well, hold on. Nancy crossed an important milestone with us since our last meeting. So I'll ask you 4 questions, and the answer is, that's Nancy. All right, you got it? That's Nancy. All right, Nancy. Who has attended 244 vestry meetings and can still smile? Who has broken in 2 honorary British rectors? Who has recently celebrated her 20th anniversary of serving our parish? And finally, who do we all appreciate? All right. Now, as you know, we have 3 committees who work with, or maybe I should say work for, Nancy. And that would be the Finance Committee, and that's headed by David Aldridge. They meet monthly. They ask obnoxious questions of Nancy, review statements, and look forward to opportunities and risks for our church. Then we have the Endowment Committee, headed by John Frazier. They meet quarterly with Truist, discuss the markets in detail, and then evaluate different investment strategies for our endowment. And finally, Buildings and Grounds, Danny Johnson, who we just heard about on the vestry. They meet monthly, then they juggle and then prioritize a really long list of capital projects. And then they bid each project to ensure that we get best value, and finally respond to various emergencies. And this has been particularly challenging assignment given the recent storm damage we had and also a regular torrent of HVAC and roof issues we've been having. Now, if you're on these committees, would you please stand just real quick? Only take a second. David, Danny, everybody. Stand up, yeah. You know, it has been said this is one of the few times that you want a bunch of lawyers, CPAs, financiers, and engineers all together in one place. And that's on our committees. It's a very talented group. All right, so finally, I will mention that really financial discipline starts at the top, and our rector does just that. Simon, he is engaged and he's very focused on All Saints' financial well-being, along with the million of other balls that he juggles every day. So thank you, Simon. All right, so let's begin with the actual treasurer's report now. I want to start with two high-level points, and they're boring, but I think they're pretty important. First of all Saints, we remain in sound financial condition. We have adequate cash, we have an untapped line of credit, and we have no loans. I think primarily our annual challenge is balancing our operating budget, given the high expectations we all have of our church versus the escalating cost environment, and then also the maintenance surrounding these wonderful but older buildings. The second point I'd like to make is the structure of our committees, working with the All Saints staff to oversee the church finances, it really does remain sound and everyone is engaged. The three committees we just discussed have 28 meetings per year and involve some 30 folks. For the parish, I think this really means three things. It's first, how we spend and allocate our dollars. It really is, it's carefully considered. And secondly, each dollar is stretched as hard as we can. And then finally, when you give to a specific cause, you can rest assured that really that is where your gift is spent. So we are in good hands. Now, let me go through a few numbers, beginning with the endowment figures. Then I want to discuss the Special Purpose Fund, which is a new fund since our last meeting. And then we'll go on to last year's operating results and next year's budget. So the endowment, that's on page 18 of your report there. And not to belabor it, but you can see the investment performance, it's right there. And as you anticipate, we took a 2% hit in the first quarter of this year. And really our endowment returns have been difficult over the last few years with averages of 4 to 5%. Really, you have to go all the way back to get to our average return over the past 5 years to see annual returns that get a little more exciting, which is almost 10%. At the end of the first quarter, our balance of the endowment was approximately $13 million. And in 2024, the distribution from the endowment was $528,000. The bulk of that goes into the operating funds of the church, and some of it goes actually to specific missions. This distribution makes up about 11% of our operating revenue, so it's critical to our programming. We anticipate a similar release coming up in May of this year for the 2025 fiscal year. Next, I would like to highlight that the vestry authorized a new fund in the latter part of 2024, the Special Purpose Fund. This new fund has a balance of $7.6 million. Let me repeat that, $7.6 million. The Special Purpose Fund was established to receive the settlement proceeds resulting from our negotiations with Norfolk Southern. Now, as I'm sure everyone remembers, after Norfolk and Southern commenced construction on their headquarters building just north of our block, our building and hardscape suffered varying degrees of differential settlement. The most substantial damage was to Eggleston, and you can think primarily cracks in that building. And fortunately, our church itself only suffered cosmetic damage. An All Saints team, headed by Tread Davis, carefully assessed the damage throughout our block, and then they worked with Norfolk Southern to receive this settlement amount, which is broadly commensurate with the assessed damage. Tread, thank you for your work. Now, the vestry, at the recommendation of the Finance Committee, put these settlement proceeds in a separate account, which attracts interest. Withdrawals are only for repairs necessitated for the settlement that require immediate attention, and then block planning expenses. Now, following the block master plan presentation next Sunday, the vestry will determine the exact use of the special purpose fund in accordance with that approved planning. All right, moving on to finances. Our 2024 budget and results and the 2025 budget are listed in the annual reports. That's the 2 pages in front, 16 and 17. Overall, our operating revenue and expenditures were in the range of $4.4 million, and we performed close to that 2024 budget. We anticipated using $69,000 of the COVID contingency fund to supplement the revenue so we would have a break-even budget. We ended up only using $27,000, so that's a good thing. A couple of quick observations about the year. On additional revenue, the primary driver of additional revenue over budget was all of you. We collected in excess of $100,000 over budget for pledges, which is a credible testimony to this parish. On expenses, we had a lot of ups and downs from budget, but as always, Danny and B&G contributed to the overrun. We had a few roof leaks, a new, more comprehensive but more expensive HVAC contract, and a few other unexpected items. These totaled about $39,000. Also, security ended up over budget by about $22K. This is something that we monitor throughout the year, but obviously we do not cut any corners on security. And finally, we did have an overrun of about $83,000 in personnel, and this reflects all the changes that happened in the year, and then also a change in allocation of some expenses within our missions. So overall, 2024, a good year. The budget for 2025. The overall budget is for $4.3 million, and this represents a balanced budget without using any reserves. So our revenues and our expenses are in line with each other. Revenue is projected almost identical to last year's actual. I note that the budget pledge line item reflects actual pledges that have been received for 2025. So again, this is great support, incredible support from the parish. Also, I would say that I anticipate the rest of the revenue line items that you see should come in very close to budget or hopefully in excess of budget. So our revenue should be very solid. Expenses were carefully reviewed and only minor increases are shown in each area. Probably our biggest risk area remains with Danny and B&G. They have a pretty aggressive budget, and they're looking for fewer HVAC breakdown, a very cool summer, and either no rain or no roof leaks. So fingers crossed. Finally, I mentioned that our COVID contingency fund, that now stands at $160,000. Initially, it was $449,000 when we got the fund originally. So this fund still has resources if indeed a deficit does come bite us at the end of this coming year. So let me wrap up with just 2 points. All Saints, we remain in solid financial condition, and our parish, it remains so supportive and generous with their giving. So that's it. If you have any questions, you know how to contact Nancy. So seriously, let me, David Aldridge, or Nancy know if you have any thoughts, questions, or advice. Thank you.
Well, folks, thank you, everybody, for being here today. Please do take this beautiful annual report with you. Put it in your neighbor's mailbox and see what happens. Have a look through. Wonder if you can see all the signs of life that we have here. The leaders that you've seen speak will loiter with intent after this meeting. Otherwise, I call this meeting to adjourn. Thank you.